Hi, my name is Squirrel, and I have too many hobbies. And in this episode, we are going to work on one of my hobbies while I talk about another one. This is a knit and chat, and it's all about books. We have our co host, Jackson, here today. And it's very early in the morning because I'm filming this before I have to go to school. Because I am working on my bachelor's. Anyway, this project is a corner to corner blanket. 2, 3. And I am not the best at crochet, so we will see how this goes. Me trying to crochet and talk at the same time. It's all in half double crochet because I got half double crochet and double crochet confused. So here we are. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about all the books that I read in 2024, and then thank you, Jackson. Thank you, co-host Jackson. Okay, so we're going to talk about all the books I read in 2024, and I've mentioned my 2025 reading goals here and there, so probably won't talk about those too much. But in 2024, I read 49 books, which kills me. I really wanted to get to 50. And it's just, this is my life. He is never a needy cat, I swear. But I'm sure y'all think I'm lying because he's always needy when I'm doing things. Okay, so I read 49 books. I had one book at the end of the year that I did not finish, which, like, I was trying so hard and it just did not get finished at all. So that's fine. And then I had 2 DNFs, or 2 did not finish, where I just said, you know what, I'm not doing this. I have a caramel latte in my mug, which I'm actually going to end up putting here because I feel like when I put it down where I have my computer and camera, it wiggles a lot, but whatever. So, out of those 49 books, out of those 52 books, 49 were audiobook. What happened? Wait, did I put that in the wrong place? I did. Okay, all the people who actually like crochet really well are probably screaming at me, but if you are new to crochet like me, when you do a corner to corner, there's this little like gap where you do these chain stitches, but sometimes I don't get the hook into the chain stitches, and then I'm like, it's like, you know, like when you twist a stitch and it feels just like really tight and you're like, what the heck did I do? It's kind of like the same thing. It's like the space is a little too tight and I don't notice it when I'm doing the slip stitch and the chains, but I do notice it when I go to do my first half double crochet in that spot. We get that sorted. So for ratings, I rate my books on a scale of 1 through 5, and I automatically deduct a full star for any time a pet dies. Not an animal, but a pet. So if it's a character in the book that dies, even if it's just like a side character or like not mentioned very much, if it's a pet and it dies, I deduct a whole fucking star. And I do not apologize for my rating system. And then so my average rating for all my books out of the year was 3.6 out of 5 stars. and then I did compare that to the average Goodreads rating for all my books, and the Goodreads rating was 3.9, so pretty close. So my genres that I read, I mostly read horror. It's like the most amount of books. And then my least, oh wait, I can actually tell you. Let me get to my different show notes. Here I was thinking I was prepared. Yeah, so I read 20 horror novels or books this year. And then my second most genre, coming in at 17 books, was fantasy. 1, 2, 3. And are we really surprised? I'm not. And then the books that I read the least of were fiction and memoir. I think I read one each of those. And then I did not read any historical fiction, romance, poetry, history, a graphic novel, YA fiction, YA fantasy, or middle grade. I just don't tend to read. I have nothing against those genres. I just, especially when reading horror books, like there's not a lot of YA horror or middle grade horror. So you're talking about like Goosebumps. The longest books I've read, I don't have it written down, but I'm pretty sure the longest book I read, at least in terms of like pages, were the second two books in the Rook and Rose trilogy, which I devoured those books. Like honestly, they could write, because Rook and Rose is by M.A. Carrick, so it's two co-writers. They could write like 100 more books in that world, and I would be so happy about it. Just the world building so in depth, and I love the magic system. They have like multiple magic systems that like collide and interact. It was so good. If you haven't read them, I highly recommend. Which that actually brings us into my 5-star read. So those two books that I was mentioning were Labyrinth's Heart and The Liar's Knot by, I might have those out of order, but those are the, I think it's The Liar's Knot and then The Labyrinth's Heart. So good. Final two books of the Rook and Rose trilogy. Oh yeah, okay. I just noticed that I have these in chronological order, but it's reverse chronological. Okay, so going 5-star reads. Going from the most recent to the oldest. So, Night in Lonesome October was amazing. It's actually written, I can never pronounce his name, but it's written by the same person who wrote the Princess of Amber series. Roger Zelazny. And it was so much fun. I read it in October. It's about like the sidekicks of warlocks who are getting into some shit, but like also all the warlocks are kind of like nods to different historical and literary figures. It's so much fun. It's told by from Snuff, who is a dog, his point of view, and his master is Jack, who is Jack the Ripper. It's never out and out said, but like it's Jack the Ripper. I don't know. I had so much fun reading it. And I just highly recommend that. And honestly, I might reread that one in October. Because, and I listened to that one, but I'm looking for a hard copy of it. Because it's written in like daily entries. So you could read one entry like for every day of October. And that just sounds fun to me, and I might end up doing that this year. Especially like run up to Halloween. It was a nice chill book. Okay, and then I already talked about Labyrinth's Heart and Liar's Knot. Love them so much. Horror movie by Paul Tremblay. I listened to this on audiobook, and I really think you need to listen to this on audiobook, because the audiobook is just so immersive. They didn't have, I think they had a cast, or if not, the voice actor is just amazing. But they did add a lot of extra sounds. Like there's parts where they're doing screen reads of the horror movie script, and it's like a table read, and you can hear they put in like page turning sounds and stuff. It's just the little things like that that made it so immersive and so fun to read. The story was wild. I still have questions. I love it when I read a horror novel and I have questions about it afterwards. That's like the best thing. Because it's just I like books that make you think, and horror is a genre that I feel makes me think. This is the horror that I read. The Priory of the Orange Tree by Shannon by Samantha Shannon. Again, epic fantasy world building. There's dragons, and what I really like about it is there's you know how we have Western dragons and Eastern dragons, and they're very different. She put that into her world building, so like the dragons in the west of her country are like the demonic fire breathing dragons, and then the dragons in the east are like they're all water dragons, and they're really helpful and beneficial. And it's so cool how these two cultures with these two very different views of dragons like kind of clash, and they have to save the world. I really enjoyed it. I'm probably going to read, there's a prequel to it that's out, so I'm probably going to read that, and honestly any other book that she comes out with in this world, cuz I love it. It's so beautiful with all this really cool like detailed work and storytelling. And she makes the world feel expansive in a way that is really hard for fantasy writers to do, especially in one book. I mean, it's a long ass book. It's like 700 pages. But it's really hard for writers to make expansive worlds unless they're doing a trilogy and or more. Looking at you, Martin, but it was just so beautifully written. I didn't think I was gonna like it because it was one of the ones that was like, oh, it's a romantasy, and I again, we've discussed before, I do not like romance. I don't do romance, but the romance was very like it was a side plot, and that's I've kind of known about myself that I only like romance when it's a side plot, and when we get too bogged down in the romance, I get bored. I really do. I get bored with romance scenes. I get bored with spicy scenes. It's just I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. Like the the Black Witch Chronicles, which I read. I think I read like the fourth and fifth book last year of the Black Witch Chronicles, and they started out so good. Um, and I'm still reading them, and they're still good, but it's like the the fifth book, especially the Demon Tide. It's like in the book, it's like like all these armies are massing, and there's this massive like shadow war and whatever, and then we just take this like sidetrack through all these like side characters and their romantic plots, and like I kind of get it because it's like we're establishing that this other part of the world feels really really safe, but it's just I guess I nearly DNF'd that one because I was like I need to get through it because I want to know what happens with like the freaking magical Nazis, but it was rough. I'm just gonna say that. Rough getting through it. Okay, and then we have I was a teenage slasher. I was a teenage slasher is another one that it's a horror novel. I really liked it. And not a lot of people liked it because I think they were expecting it to be a lot more camp than it was. And it is very like stream of consciousness. It's from the point of view of the narrator, and as he's like both telling the story from the past and also kind of figuring everything out. What I really liked about it is it kind of reminded me of, there's this mockumentary called Behind the Mask, the Leslie Vernon story, that it's like a campy horror movie, but it is like a documentary of like slashers, and Leslie Vernon wears his mask and he kills a bunch of people, and it talks about like the final girl and how they set everything up, and like this kind of community of like slashers, and it gives very much that vibes, but then it has like this magical element. Like he really is, by becoming a slasher, he's really changing in a lot of ways that make him do these like otherworldly things. It's really, really interesting. The Wilds is the third Detective Ellen Warner book, and I think I gave this 5 stars just because, spoilers if you are reading the Detective Ellen Warren series, which I recommend the series, but if you are reading the series, spoilers, because she breaks up with her boyfriend, who for the last 2 books has been fucking dead weight, and I have been just yelling at the audiobook like, oh my god, girl, break up with him. She finally broke up with him. So I'm just so excited. And that one's by Sarah Pierce, I'm pretty sure. Okay, then we have The Deep, which I was not expecting to like this one so much. It was first of all, it's a novella, so it's like really short. And then it's a kind of like it's not really The Little Mermaid, but it is a take on mermaids. It's so heartbreaking. It made me cry. I can't really talk about it like too much, because it'll give away the whole plot. But read trigger warnings before you read it. But it will make you cry. It made me cry, in a lot of ways. It was just amazing, and also really amazing world building. Then we have Ghost Station, which this is a book that's not really enjoyed a lot. Like when I saw it on Goodreads, like a lot of people didn't like it. It's space. If you like Alien, especially like Prometheus Alien, I think you will enjoy this, because they go to another planet. They're like trying to discover what happened there, like doing a surveying, but there's this stuff with like this deep sleep, like psychosis, and the main character is a therapist, and she's like trying to help these people and they don't trust her. It's so good. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the alien world, and kind of the whole talk about like colonization of alien worlds. I liked therapist. I liked her backstory and how it kept coming up. I thought it was super good. But yeah, I don't know. Apparently I'm alone and wrong in that feeling. And then space, I'm looking at my list. I feel like I just need to read more sci-fi, because I have two 5-star reads that are just straight sci-fi. So the second one is The Space Between Worlds, and that one was so cool because like they discover how to travel between like different parallel universes. Kind of like, if you like sliders, read this. And I grew up reading sliders, or watching sliders, so here we are. Yeah, they like travel between like alternate universes, and it was just so well done, and it was so cool because the author got to like play with like different aspects of everyone's like personality, because you were meeting like these like different versions of them. And there's this like religious like cult. So in one world, this guy that's like a gang leader, like a slumlord gang leader, is like a religious Bible thumping hippie, which is so weird and like so interesting, and it like really, it plays with the which path do you take. I thought it was so good. Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I really just need to read more T. Kingfisher because everything I've read, I have absolutely loved by them. So, Nettle and Bone, it's amazing. I would die for Bone Dog. Just read it. Well, I mean, I guess I also have a little bit more. I guess I just have a little bit more affinity for books that use. Ooh, what did I do? See, guys, I just don't crochet all that well. And it's like, it's coming out fine, but it is a struggle for me to, like, do this. And it's not just because I'm talking. I struggle and redo pixels all the time when I'm just, like, here on my own listening to an audiobook or, like, really counting. But the nice thing is it's going to be in my house. It's going to be folded up. So I'm really the only one who's going to, like, be, like, you know, that close to it pretty much ever, who knows what's up with crochet. And I'll be so happy when I start decreasing this because it's so freaking long. Okay, Space Between Worlds and Bone. So Nettle and Bone, it does talk a lot about fiber arts, embroidery and spinning, and kind of used in this, like, magical way. I love it. I always love when a magic system uses, like, tarot or, like, a card based system or, like, fiber arts. I thought it was really smart and fun. I liked how the heroine was, yeah, she's a woman. She's like in her, I think she's like in her early 20s, late or early 30s, late 20s. Like, she's grown up sheltered, but she's also, like, lived, which I like because I hate, like, little teenage princesses. Like, I don't, like, I'm not a teenage princess. I don't always want to read about teenage princesses. Okay, so then we have Murder Road, which, if you liked, like, season 1 of Supernatural, you'll like this book. It's a couple, they're on a road, they nearly get run off the road, they get stranded in this little town, craziness happens. They almost get framed for murder. I really like it. I thought it was really cool. Good, like, ghost story. And that's Simone St. James. And I've also read The Sundown Motel by her. She's really good. Like, does good suspense in a way that, like, I'm left wanting more, but everything's kind of nicely wrapped up at the end. So I don't feel like, what the fuck just happened? Highly recommend. Okay, Stardust Thief. I have heard people critique the Stardust Thief because they say it's too much like City of Brass. I have not read City of Brass. I am planning to read City of Brass because I like the Stardust Thief so much. It follows this woman. She's, like, selling magical items. There's a war against the djinn. Her BFF is a djinn. Craziness happens. The second book comes out this year. I will be reading it. I don't even care if it doesn't fit into, like, my 52 book goal, like, the prompts. I'm reading it anyway. Although there is a prompt that's, like, come release in 2025, so it's, like, my freebie space, I think. I lied. I have another sci-fi book. Bluebird. I loved Bluebird. If you okay, think like Cowboy Bebop, Firefly, honestly, Mandalorian in a lot of ways, like, team of ragtag thievery things trying to go up against the entire universe. There's, like, 3 different factions. They're all at war. Really cool. It has, like, what I call, like, space magic, where the technology is so advanced it might as well be magic, but it is explained in, like, a suitably techy way it's not like the midichlorians in the Force, which I just think is the biggest cop out. I hate midichlorians to this day. I hate midichlorian counts. I just wanted the Force to be the Force, and just like, I don't know, like people having a strong pull towards something else the Force. Because like think about it, if the midichlorians are a thing, and they say like the Force is strong in my family, then like wouldn't either, maybe not the Jedi, but like wouldn't the Sith be like popping out babies left, right, and sideways? Like maybe not training them, but like wouldn't you think there'd be like Sith babies like all over the place so they have that strong affinity with the Force? Or maybe there are and I don't know about it. I don't know. I don't think like the Sith are out there. Okay, so this is my decrease. So I'm pretty sure I just slip stitch into this one. Watch me do this wrong. Because if I make another cluster here, okay, I think I just chain 2 and turn. Okay, chain 2, flip my work. Yeah, okay. Woo, we did it. However, comma, I'm not gonna have enough green yarn. So I think what I need to do. Okay, so I'm gonna do my slip stitch in here with the green. And then I'm going to grab, I have all my other colors next to me. I think I'm gonna grab, I just did purple. Now I'm gonna grab some purple again. Which this is apparently the color Dark Orchid. From Lily Sugar and Cream. Okay, so I'm gonna hold my two endsies together. This is the most stressful part. Okay. So I have one chain, two chain. Tell me you're a millennial without telling me you're a millennial. Okay. Just pull those like. And then if I insert here and then pull up a loop. I'm just gonna call it good. Okay. Star Thief, Ashfire King. Okay, Bluebird. If you. Right, Space Magic. Okay, so. If you like that kind of vibe, I don't think you'll be disappointed. There is, again, a romance subplot, but it kind of just gets like wrapped up at the end. There are some points where I'm like yelling at people, like, guys, literal fate of the universe shit going on. Can we, like, hurry it up? Okay, then we have the seance, which I'm also not sure why this wasn't historical fiction, because it takes place in like Victorian times and talks a lot about mesmerism and occultism that the Victorians were like all heavily into. There's like a haunted house that's like killing, literally killing people with lightning. I don't know, it's just spooky, and it was just spooky and fun in a really great way and really interesting. And it was also about, it referenced a lot of things that I know a lot about, just because I am a nerd, and occult stuff has always been an interest of mine, both, now with like the tarot cards and stuff, but also historically. Let me tell you, the Victorians were up to some weird stuff with their occultism. Like, sometimes I'm doing stuff, I'm like, is this right? And then I, like, look at some Victorian shit, and I'm like, nah, okay, I'm good. I am so not that weird. Just by comparison. And then we have Bookshops and Bone Dust, which I'm just very much. I'm very much a lover of a good cozy fantasy. I like a cozy fantasy or cozy mystery, especially in between a lot of like really heavy horror books, just to kind of break up the mood, I guess. And I really liked Legends and Lattes. It did feel, because I listened to Legends and Lattes on the audiobook and they like say the menu every time they see it, it does feel like a little bit repetitive, probably less so than if you read the book and they just have like the print of the menu like in the book. But it was kind of important because it kept adding stuff to it. So, did I completely mess this up? No, I did it. Okay. I think I just have trust issues with myself in crochet. Because I'll do stuff like completely correct. And then it won't look correct. Or I'll be convinced I like missed something. And then I'm doing it all over again. Okay. Next one. Both next Pixel Stitch and next book that I rated 5 stars. Oh, no, we're still on Bookshops and Bone Dust. So Bookshops and Bone Dust takes place before Legends and Lattes. However, if you do not want to be spoiled by some parts of Legends and Lattes, do not read Bookshops. Don't read that one first. Even though it is set before, there's like a part at the end that'll spoil Legends and Lattes. So be aware, read it in order. I actually think Bookshops and Bone Dust was better than Legends and Lattes. Like, it had a lot more world building. It was a lot more interesting with the plot. I just liked it a lot more, honestly. Then something completely different is Fever House, which is a horror novel. And it's like post-apocalyptic, end of the world. There's this song that's like taking over people's brains. There's angels that are being held by the government. Honestly, it really does remind me. It's like the whole angels being held by the government and used as a weapon. I feel like that was a movie. I don't know, but it's that. There's like the apocalypse is happening. Everyone's running around. I really liked it. I thought it was great. Um, it is very gory and there's a lot of scenes. Like at one point, the evil bad guys are cutting off the angel's wings, and it's very graphic. So be aware going in what you're getting yourself into. I will say, Fever House is not as graphic as Hell Followed With Us. Hell Followed With Us has a lot of similar themes with like post-apocalyptic and like angels, but in a more gruesome way. And yeah, Hell Followed With Us has a lot more body horror. To this day, I'm amazed I finished it. I rated it, I think, like 4 stars, but it's really disturbing. And if you have any kind of religious trauma, especially like you grew up in like a fundamentalist religious household, don't read it. Save yourself. Or do read it, and then make yourself a good therapy appointment afterwards. There's just a lot of fundamentalist shit in there. And I'm like, I grew up Jewish. I'm a witch now. I see the fundamentalist stuff from afar, so I'm sure there's more stuff that I didn't clock that will hit you harder. So just be aware with that one. Okay. But going back to Fever House, super good. Super quick. There's like a lot of cool like rock and roll references. I really liked it. And then my first 5-star read of 2024, which again, like a lot of people, like when I look at the Goodreads reviews, didn't like it, was The Writing Retreat. And I think part of the reason why I love The Writing Retreat so much was, again, it dealt with occultists, but like, I don't know, I kind of, there was like a, there's like, they're in this like old house that used to be home to these like occultist people, again in like the 1900s. And so it tells two stories. It tells the story of the woman who's writing the book at this writing retreat, and also like the story that she's writing is a complete story. So it's like two books in one. I really liked it. I thought it was so good. I liked all the twists and turns. Honestly, I like how the main character, like, you want to slap a bitch in the beginning. And she goes from not being likable to being more likable, but she's still pretty a horrible person. But not in a way that's like, I want to stop reading, or I don't care what happens to her, in a way that's like compelling. I, I don't know, I struggle when characters are either like so horrible, you're like, I don't give a fuck, or they're, it has to be some kind of balance in there. So now we get to my DNFs. The first one is The Sandman Act 1. I listened to on Audible. It's like an Audible exclusive. It's like an audio drama. They have like a whole cast. Except for the fact every single freaking female character gets essayed. And I'm not going back and rereading it or re-listening to it or picking up the audiobook, the graphic novel, and seeing if it's the same, worse or better. I swear, every single female character except for Death gets essayed in that book. Um, I was horrified listening to it. I'm not listening to any of the other ones, and you know what? Historically, I like DC Comics. I like that there's a part where we're in Arkham Asylum. I did not enjoy that. I do not recommend. So that was a 1-star read, but honestly, I should have stopped reading it. I can't believe we made it all the way to the end. I'm just sad because I had like some good like world building stuff in there, and I really wanted to like it. I just couldn't get past the literal essay of every single freaking character. And then even like the male characters that aren't essayed, like brutally tortured for no reason. It was weird. I don't know. I don't recommend. Next book I DNF'd was All Hallows. It's pitched as like Stranger Things on Halloween. I really wanted to like it. I got bored. It's like, little small town, nowhere America in the 80s. Everyone's getting ready for Halloween. It didn't have like enough creepy stuff to keep me engaged. And I just didn't care about any of the characters and their like drama. Really. And I don't know, like, maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it and I should try it again, but I just didn't care. Didn't care about the characters, didn't care about the creepy girl wandering around, just didn't care. And then Emma, Jane Austen. I go through these phases where I try and read more classical literature. I just don't think, like, what is Emma? Regency? I just don't think the Regency is, like, it for me. Maybe I need to, like, read, like, I don't know, some, like, gothic or horror or something if I want to read classics. I couldn't get into it. Emma's whiny. And you know what? I should have known. It's a romance. Well, it's a romance and a social commentary. But I don't like romances. So, I don't know why I keep trying to read Jane Austen. Because all she wrote were primarily romances. I just can't do it. Okay, so now we have books that I wanted to mention. They didn't really fit into any, like, they weren't 5-star reads, they weren't 1-star reads, they weren't DNFs. But I definitely ranted a lot about them. So the first one is This Is How You Lose a Time War, which, once again, broken record, I don't like romance. When you look up this book, it says it's a romance. Now, technically, it is not a romance, because according to the Romance Writers of America, a romance has to have a happy ending. This book does not have a happy ending, but it does have a lot of pining, and I don't know. I wanted to like it more because there's space and time travel, and like going to different places. And it's just, yeah, a cool concept, beautifully written. Honestly, it is a masterclass in writing. It is so beautifully written, but it's boring as hell. Thankfully, it's also short. So I don't know. Skim through it at your own peril. I did not enjoy it. Do not recommend it. And then the other one, it's kind of a theme. I noticed this year that I was reading a lot of duologies, but the second book sucked. So I've read 4 duologies. The One for the Wolf, One for the Crown. Um, Where the River Hides and What the Library Knows. The Watchers. I read the first one, that, and then Fever House, technically a duology. So I read For the Wolf, really enjoyed it, devoured it. It was one of the few paperback books I read. Loved it. Immediately started For the Crown. Slogged through it. Could not get through it. I don't know, like maybe it was like a mood thing, but it took me forever to finish For the Crown. I really wanted to, because again, like, I liked the magic system, and there's a lot of cool world building. And like For the Crown, they're like in this underworld, which like I should have liked it, but I just ended up not liking it. Also, I think I got like 20% through, and I was kind of looking at it, and I was like, this feels kind of like Rilo, reskin Rilo fanfic. And I'm not sure if it is, but there's a morally gray Shadow Daddy. And I just, like, ugh. I'm kind of bored with the Shadow Daddy trope, honestly. I don't even read, like, romantasy books, and I'm bored of Shadow Daddy trope. I just can't. So then, What the Library Knows, I loved. It's like The Mummy. There is a romance, but it's a side plot. There's magical items. They're trying to find Cleopatra's tomb. There's stuff going on. And then the second book, oh my god, it drags so much. Too much romance. Too much, like, would you talk to each other? I didn't understand the characters' motivations. There were a couple, like, double crosses that made no sense. And, like, I was like, why the fuck was that in there? The first one I loved. The second one I did not enjoy at all. It was just, like, such a slog. So now I have 2 more duologies that I've read, like, the first book of. The Watchers by A.M. Shine, and then Fever House. And I'm, like, scared to read the second book of those duologies. So I'm like, are they gonna, like, suck as well? Or are they gonna be good? I'm probably gonna read the sequel to Fever House, because that one I really liked. I'm probably not gonna read the sequel of The Watchers. Just because I don't know. I appreciated the world building for what it was, like, at the end, but it was, like, annoying to get there. It did have a couple jump scares. I think I would watch the movie The Watchers, because they did make a movie of it, so maybe I should find that on, like, Netflix or something. Netflix or Hulu, and see if I like it. So that is all the books that I really feel compelled to talk about for my 2024 reads. There's a lot of books. There's a lot of highlights that I really enjoyed. Read a lot of horror. I do have a full spreadsheet of all the books I read in 2024 with title, author, publisher pages, audiobook hours, my like review, my rating. So that'll be linked below. If you want like more kind of in depth on like all the other books that I didn't talk about, because it was a lot. 49 books is a lot of books in a year. And of course, I say that, and I'm like on track to read 52 books this year because I've already finished like 2 books. Halfway through a third book. We're just chugging along. It's great. So, what did you read? What was your standout book of 2024? What are you knitting on or crocheting on while you watch this? Do you have any 2025 reading goals? I know it's like some people I really like having a reading goal. I get into it. I enjoy exceeding my reading goal every year, but I know that's not for everyone. So let me know what your current thoughts about books are. So I just rambled for quite a long time about mine. Although it does look like this will not be as long as the first knit and chat about tarot, so hopefully it'll be quicker to edit and get up. Probably not gonna try and put in like book covers. So hopefully you're seeing book covers flash up during this, because that'll be helpful. Sorry, editing me. Okay, so brief admin stuff. Next week is going to be a knitting podcast, where I talk about like my whips and stuff, or well, I think I'm just calling it my year of finishing. So like next week is a year of finishing, episode 2, where I talk about what I'm working on. So you'll probably see this blanket like make another occurrence or show up again, along with some other stuff. And then after that, we're gonna have another knit and chat. And I think the knit and chat is going to be tarot myths. So that'll be kind of fun for me, because again, like part of why I do these knit and chats is one, to have like dedicate time to work on this stuff for my year of finishing, and also because I like talking about different stuff. Okay, so I am going to probably not finish this row, but I'm going to finish this and get myself together and get to school. And I will see you on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. because that's when I arbitrarily decided that I'm uploading. So Wednesday at 9 p.m. Woo! Have a good day.